Hello class, this is going to be a fast version about how to format a Microsoft Word document. For some of you that have already been in a class that I've taught and have used this format, then this is just a reminder, and for others, they may just have enough Microsoft Word knowledge that this all makes sense. Otherwise, I have a longer video that I'll also share along with this, but I'm trying to keep this under 5 minutes. Steps involved, okay, so I believe that this is somewhat of a pro move here. In Options, we're going to go to Display, and we're going to turn on the formatting marks. We're going to go to Advanced, and we're going to come down about a page. We're going to click the Show Crop Marks there, okay? And then we have some markings here. The reason I turn those on, A, it gives me some information. It makes it more like we're engineering the document. And also when there's some weird behavior, the different kinds of indicators in here, these marks that we get, might indicate why the behavior's gone awry. Okay, so the first thing we do is we don't hit enter, 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 and then type in whatever cover page information. We go Pro, we use Insert Text Box. We come down to Draw Text Box, and I'm going to draw the top of the page here. All right, and if you grab this and you move it around, we'll find the center point here as the green line. So vertical green line will show us where that is. So we're going to type into the box here, cover page. Okay, and once we get that in there, let's center that up. We go back to the Home menu item, center that up, and we can just use this up arrow for font size. Bring that up, okay. Okay, and so generally I'll grab the text box like this. I will come back to Shape Options over on the right here. I will say there's a solid line. I can turn that off. One thing is I can turn that off. The other thing that I can do is if we grab this once again, if I grab that, go back to Shape Options. Now we should be able to turn this back on again very easily. Okay, and then we get it back again. So you can turn that on and off. One of the things that you can do with this that makes it a little bit looks nicer is come back to Shape Options one more time, and we're going to put some gray in there. So we're going to make the gray box around the letters there. It sort of softens it up. It's not as harsh or contrasty as it might be. And don't use color in these documents, but what you can do is come in here. We're going to grab that text, and we'll change the color of the text. So text options, we will select a dark gray like that, okay, and that softens it up a little bit. That might just be a little bit too light, so we'll come back in here and we'll say let's have some more colors. Go to more colors, and here we can pick even a darker gray, something like that, okay, and that just makes it a little nicer. Usually you have your contact information, the author type information on here. We're going to add another text box in here, so we grab text box, draw another one. You can center it or push it off to the side. Do a little asymmetry kind of thing. So we would do Professor, whatever class it might be for, and it might be the date on here and the assignment, something like that. That's what we normally do, right? All right. At this point, you can apply your own personal style to this. Maybe we center that up, something like this. You could also push it over to the side where we take the whole box. We can move it over here. I think that font is just a little bit too small, so we're going to bump that up a little bit, something like that. And you know, we could leave the box around it like that. I'm not sure the world of style and design whether that looks too good. I'm going to move it back to the center, and probably I'm going to leave it like that with it left justified. Okay, so we only have one page here. Now another mark to notice here is when we click on one of these text boxes, you can see that there's an anchor that appears there. So I'm going to give myself an enter, enter. Now what's happening is as we're hitting enter is the line that these text boxes are attached to keeps going down further and further. So what we need to do is now bring these back up again. Okay, so you can put this anywhere you want, then grab the anchor and make sure it's attached to some line above the one that we're working on. Okay, so I'm going to bring that back up again. And whenever we want to take a quick look at what this really looks like, you can do a quick go to File, Print. It's a little bit of a hack. Okay, so now I can take a look at the front page and see what's going on here. Okay, that looks pretty good. Just hit Escape. I'm not really going to print it, but it does give me a nice rendition of what's going on there. Okay, so we have the second text box selected. The anchor here, we want to move up to the top so it doesn't come to the second page when I put my cursor here. I hit Control Enter, gives me a new page. Okay. If we come back up, you're going to see because I turned on all those indicators, it says page break. I know that there's a page break there. where you get in trouble is when you depend on a page coming down to the end and flipping to the next page by its own auto format versus when you force it by putting in a control enter, which is the page break. We go to page 2 down here, okay? And quite often, a good report in business will end up with an executive summary. It's often your first section. I'm going to type in 3 headers right away here, body, and I'm going to put in here, let's put in appendices, okay, appendices. Those are 3 major sections of our paper, okay, so that's it. Take that to a different place. Now, you can use different formats up here, like heading and whatnot, and when you click on a heading up here, that's a story for a different time. That actually inserts some hierarchical information into Microsoft Word as to what heading falls under which. If I, just for a second, I say, yes, let's make the appendices a certain heading, when I click that and actually apply it, you'll see a little dot here. That indicates that it's an outline item, that it's actually a smart line in your document, and you can use that to create tables of contents and things like that. So I'm going to Control Z and undo what I just did there. Okay. Hit Control Save before we lose anything. And I'm going to work on the header and footer before I do anything else. Okay. So the first thing is I'm going to double click in the header, and I'm going to put in let's call this Report 1. What you put up here I'm not really caring about, as long as it's relatively important. And you might put the author, whoever it is, put your name up there. Okay, but one of the big points here is we're going to do another insert. Go back to insert. We're going to go to shapes, give ourselves a line, and I'm going to put a separator line from the headers and the footers. And that just kind of jumped out there ahead of me. I have to go through that again. Let's go. Before I was able to explain anything. Okay, so I'm going to hold down the mouse button. I'm going to get my cursor located right there about at the crop marks. I'm going to hold down my cursor, and I'm going to move around. If I move around, the line will follow wherever my cursor goes. But if I hold down the Shift key, it restricts it to 45 degrees increments as far as where it will put the line. And that's how I get a nice straight line across the top. Okay, so I let go. I've got a line there. Right away, I'm going to do Control C, Control V. Okay, so I just copied that line. Try to grab it again here. Now I'm going to move it all the way down to the bottom. And if you notice, the green line on the left is helping me align it with the one on the top. Okay, because it knows I want to align it with the one on the top. Okay, so now I have a separator line for the header and footer. While I'm down at the footer, put my cursor in there, tab, gets me over to the right border. Go back to insert again. We're going to insert the page number right here. And the preferred page number is at the current position. And we're going to pick the style that we want. And if you come down just a little bit, you're going to get page X of Y. Click that. That's my preferred way of putting the page numbers in there. I always have like situational awareness and know how many pages there are and what page I'm on. Okay, we're actually moving pretty quick here. That's already looking like a pretty good document. Okay, and what happens is I'm going to double click on the cover page here in the body of the page. And we're going to go back into regular edit mode here, where we were. If we double click on the up in the header, then we go into the header and footer edit mode. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the basic editing mode in the body here. Okay, let's take a quick look at that. Run over to File, Print fast, and we can see what's going on. Our cover page, we actually have a header and footer. We don't really want that. Let's go down. I'm going to page down over here, and that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the way that looks so far. So I'm going to hit Escape to get out of print. And what we want to do is we want to use a different cover page. So we're going to double click in the header area. And when you do that, we're going to be in the Design tab for header and footer tools. And we can click different first page, which we're going to do. Okay. Now, you can go ahead and type something in there, but we just simply don't want a header in there. Microsoft Word pretty much knows that we don't want anything on a header footer on our cover page. And that's what it defaults to when I clicked that button. There's nothing up there in the header and footer. So what we're going to do now is double click fast inside the body, and you're going to see that there is no header and footer on the cover page. Just to be sure about that, we're going to go back over to File, Print, and there's a little hack. We can take a look and see how it looks. There's front page and the next page. So we still have the header and footer on the next pages. Hit Escape to get out of there. Okay. Okay, so we're going to start building out this document a little bit, and I just emphasize a little bit. I just want to show you how to get images into here is probably one of the most important things because you're going to use images from screenshots to be able to put an image into your document and then speak to it as an exhibit. Okay, so we know that these are fairly large sections here. Right after executive summary, I have my cursor and I'm going to hit Control Enter. Let me do that one more time. Control Enter. Okay, and it pushed everything below it to the next page. See, there's the body and appendices. Our page count goes up to 3. Okay, that went up. We can see that we put a page break in there, and we can type in our executive summary. Okay, so in my courses, I don't require anything like APA format or anything like that. So you can type in some words here. You're going to type in your executive summary, some power statements and things like that. I want to give myself a few lines here because I'm going to get to the next section here. I want to put in a screenshot. All right. So let's go down to the body. All right. And I'm going to be a little more clear here. Section 1, say body section 2, body section 2. All right. So I have a couple body sections here. All right. So let's get into something with body section 1. I'm going to hit Control Enter, push everything else down to another page. We're up to 4 pages already. Okay. Executive summary generally does not have any kind of images in there. It's usually your power statement. Someone's going to read this and see what the rest of the paper's like, and they'll throw it out if they're not interested, or they'll read it if they are interested. But now, once we get into explaining things, let's go to body section 1 here. Now let's put some lines of text in here as it is. I just want to fill this up a little bit. Put some words in here. Okay, and we'll go get a screenshot. All right, so I'm not going to leave it here. I'm going to use the standard snipping tool, which I don't have on my taskbar here. So let me grab the snipping tool. The snipping tool is built into Windows 10. All right, so I can move that out of the way. Want a new? Not sure why I have this little screen in here. Let me hit escape for a second and close that. Some message from something. All right, so I'm going to click new, and I'm going to say, on some other page of my computer that I'm on, some other tab or some other screen that I'm using, I might have some interesting things that I want to put into this document. So I just took a screenshot of the document itself, and once it gets up onto the snipping tool, we can hit Control C. That puts it up on the clipboard, and I'm going to come back in here and put my cursor in here and say Control V. Okay, so I just inserted this the same way that we inserted the text box. Okay, if I grab it, I cannot move it around. I can move it up and down. I should be able to move it up and down. Okay, so now it's moving side to side. All right, what we need to do is tell it, there's a couple different modes that Word wants to know about where to put the text around one of these boxes. And if you notice, there's a little text right next to it, and that's because the mode that we would have this image in right now, the layout option, is in line with text. So text can go to the side of this, all right? The other common options that I use are square and top and bottom. Generally, top and bottom doesn't let any text to the side. And square, notice how that works differently than in line with text, that it can put all kinds of text right next to it. Now, once I have done that and changed the mode, I can move this around more freely, the actual image that I have here, okay? So I'm going to assume that this is a fairly large image. I'm actually going to stretch it out a little bit. Okay, you can see me stretching that out. It's kind of a wide image, let's say. I'm going to go back in there and click on top and bottom. That means text can go above the top and below the bottom on this. Okay, so as I move it around, you can see the text isn't appearing on the side. That's pretty much the big things of how to do a nice document. And I mentioned I wanted to keep this short. I'm probably over by a few minutes at this point. But if you do just those kinds of things, I think I've shown you a lot of how to get a nice looking document. It starts behaving well. And if you ever get to a point you don't want to see all these formatting characters, you can go back in here and you can shut them off by just going back into your options. We'll undo what we just did. So we'll go to display. We're going to turn off the formatting remarks, the formatting marks, and the advanced. You have to come down about a page, half a page or a page to shut off the show crop marks. We say OK, and notice that it's gone back again. It's gone back to with not showing any marks. You can do certain things. I wouldn't recommend this for these kinds of reports, but you can grab your images and you can rotate them a little bit like that. Sometimes if you want a little emphasis, you want to get into a little bit of marketing, you might want to show something off like that, but generally just keep them nice and square. Okay, and that's about it. That's a short version of it, the main things. Thanks a lot, and I hope this helps.